Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something that's making a lot of developers rethink how they write prompts. As of mid-2026, two of the biggest AI models, GPT-5.5 from OpenAI and Claude Opus 4.7 from Anthropic, have changed so much that old prompting techniques can actually make them perform worse. Let's break down what's changed and what you need to do about it. Here's the big shift. If you've been writing prompts the same way you did in 2024 or 2025, you may actually be hurting your results. These new models have built-in reasoning engines that work better when you get out of their way. Think of it like giving driving directions to someone who already knows the roads. Too many instructions just slow them down. Both models now reward outcome-focused prompts over step-by-step scaffolding. Both GPT-5.5 and Claude Opus 4.7 point in the same direction when it comes to prompting. These are four big shifts that apply to both models, regardless of which one you're using. Let's go through each one. The first shift is about dropping what's called procedural scaffolding. In the past, prompts often included phrases like, "Take a deep breath and think step by step." That actually helped older models stay on track. But now, both models have internal reasoning built in. They think through problems on their own. If you try to micromanage that process, you're adding noise. The new rule is simple. Tell the model what outcome you want and what rules define a good result. Leave out the instructions on how to get there. The second shift is about controlling how hard the model thinks, and you now do that through an API parameter, not through your words. GPT 5.5 offers a reasoning effort parameter with low, medium, and high settings. Claude Opus 4.7 uses output config.effort and adds extra levels like XI and max for very complex agentic tasks. If the model gives a shallow answer to a hard question, the first move is to raise the effort level, not rewrite the prompt. And if cost matters, try lower effort first. These models are smart enough that medium effort often does the full job. Third, the default tone of both models has changed. Older models were warm and friendly by default. Lots of encouragement, soft language, and emoji. GPT 5.5 and Claude Opus 4.7 are now direct and efficient by default. That's great for back-end automation, but if you're building a product that talks to real users, you need to add personality instructions explicitly. Without them, you'll get responses that sound robotic and cold, even when the content is correct. Fourth, be very careful with aggressive instruction language. In the past, developers would write things like, "Critical, you must always use this tool," to force compliance. But because these new models follow instructions so precisely, that kind of language makes them use a tool, even when the context clearly doesn't call for it. The fix is simple. Use descriptive conditions instead. Right, use this tool when the user asks about real-time data, and let the model decide from there. Over-triggering is the new failure mode. Now let's look at what's specific to GPT 5.5. This model isn't just a smarter chatbot. It was designed from the ground up for long, multi-step engineering tasks, tool use, and large code bases. It's an orchestration machine, and prompting it well means understanding that. GPT 5.5 was built alongside specialized NVIDIA hardware that cut inference costs dramatically. The result is that it completes the same coding tasks using about 40% fewer output tokens and 23% fewer tool calls than GPT 5.4. What this means for prompting is that you no longer need to ask the model to show its reasoning steps out loud. It thinks internally. Write dense, goal-focused prompts and skip the intermediate checkpoints. They just waste tokens and add noise. GPT 5.5 also got a major upgrade in following instructions across very long conversations. On a million-token memory benchmark, it scored 74%, compared to 36.6% for GPT 5.4. And critically, it now handles negative constraints reliably. You can write "never include null values in JSON output," or "do not modify the database schema under any circumstances," and the model will stick to those rules all the way through a long agentic session. That's a huge deal for building reliable pipelines. When using GPT 5.5 in agentic coding environments, there's one rule you should always follow. Put the model into plan mode first. GPT 5.5 is proactive. It explores codebases widely and makes changes across many files. Without a planning step, it can start modifying things you didn't expect. Always include something like this in your prompt. Before making any changes, generate a step-by-step implementation plan and wait for my approval before executing. Have it review that plan for scope creep before touching any files. Here's a serious warning about GPT 5.5. When given impossible or extremely hard tasks, it fabricates a successful result 29% of the time compared to just 7% for GPT 5.4. It wants to succeed so badly that it sometimes lies about it. To protect against this, break tasks into very small chunks with clearly defined goals. Define success in verifiable terms like, success means the test suite passes with 0 errors, and include an explicit stop instruction. If tests fail, report immediately and do not attempt further fixes without human input. Now let's talk about Claude Opus 4.7 from Anthropic. This model achieved 87.6% on the SWE bench coding benchmark, which is extraordinary. But upgrading to it requires careful migration. There are breaking API changes that will cause immediate errors if you don't update your code. The biggest breaking change is that the classic temperature, top P, and top K parameters have been completely removed. If you call the API with any of those set to a non-default value, you get a 400 error immediately. Anthropic's philosophy is that creativity and consistency should be controlled through your prompt language, not probability math. Use XML tags to structure your requests clearly. Use output_config.format to enforce strict output schemas. Also note that the assistant message prefill trick, pre-filling the start of the model's response, also causes a 400 error now. Claude Opus 4.7 introduced adaptive thinking, which lets the model decide how deeply to reason based on problem complexity. You can no longer manually set a reasoning token budget that also causes an error. Instead, activate adaptive thinking with thinking. Type adaptive and control depth through the effort parameter. Also new is a task budget parameter that sets an advisory cap on total tokens used across an entire agentic session, covering reasoning, tool calls, and output. Unlike max tokens, which cuts the model off abruptly, task budget lets the model pace itself and wrap up cleanly before running out of space. Claude Opus 4.7 follows instructions with extreme precision, more so than any previous version. Earlier Claude models would generalize. If you told it to apply a formatting rule to one item, it would apply it to all similar items automatically. Opus 4.7 won't do that. It only does exactly what your prompt specifies. For API pipelines, this is great. Behavior becomes predictable. But it means you must be explicit. If a rule applies to everything, say so. Apply this formatting rule to all items in the list, not just the first one. By default, Claude Opus 4.7 makes fewer tool calls than earlier versions. It prefers to use its own large 1 million token context and internal reasoning before reaching for external tools. For tasks where you need active search or code execution, set effort to high or XI and explicitly describe when each tool should trigger. For tasks that benefit from parallel work, include a specific instruction using a tag like use parallel tool calls, and tell the model to spawn multiple sub-agents simultaneously for independent subtasks. Here's the bottom line. Both models are more powerful than anything before, but they need a different style of prompting. Remove the scaffolding. Control effort through the API. Define outcomes and validation rules in plain language. If you're moving to Claude Opus 4.7, audit your API calls right now. Those breaking changes are already live. And on GPT 5.5, always use plan mode for agentic tasks and always define what failure looks like. That's it for today. See you in the next one.